Okay, so I'd like to call the meeting to order. Can we proceed with the roll call and the Pledge of Allegiance? And if we can remember the order that we sat in the last time we were together, let's go in that order.
Maureen, over.
Harriet Polansky.
Paul Niebuhr.
Laurel Anderson.
And Kathleen, you're muted.
That would be
there we go.
Kathleen McGannon.
Okay, so can we stand and recite the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Any revision to the minutes of the regular October 27th board meeting? Okay, would someone make a motion to approve the minutes?
Laurel, I make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
Second?
Kathy.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Against? Abstentions? All right, the motion carries unanimously. Maureen, would you please do the treasurer's report?
Sure. From July 1, 2020 to October 31, 2020, the overall gain of the Housing Authority is $149,847, which includes all rental income, services income, and capital grant funding provided for the redevelopment, rehabilitation, and remodeling efforts. If we take out the capital related items, the Housing Authority has an operating gain before depreciation of $48,153, of which $41,460 is attributable to the village, $6,693 is attributable to congregate. If we look at Stern Village, the current month's operating loss of $9,248 compared to budgeted gain of $4,578. The loss is due to the annual cleaning of the HVAC units this month, totaling $20,000. Otherwise, legal continues to be the only cost significantly over budget for the year by $3,157 due to union contract negotiations, which are now completed. Overall revenues are above budgeted amounts for the year, while expenses continue to be under budget so far. If we look at the congregate, the current month operating gain of $2,691 compared to budgeted gain of $292. This is primarily due to lower than budgeted maintenance contracts again this month. Overall, costs continue to be under budget for the congregate, while revenues have also been under budget. Vacancies continue to have a negative impact overall with revenues, specifically for tenant congregate services, under budget by $3,145 and $12,343 for the year. The overall cash position of the authority, including reserves, is $875,365, which includes $245,011 reserved for renovation costs at Stern Village. Construction payables total $30,202. You have a snapshot of the program below. Congregate payable to village increased as congregate was awaiting budgetary approval and receipt of subsidies from DOE. Funds were received in November, and a payment of $53,030 was made back to the village. It is anticipated that the loan balance will continue to remain around the prior year balance throughout the year with payments made monthly going forward. End of report.
Thank you, Maureen. So we'd like to have a discussion on the financials. Jason, can you please?
Yes. So again, I think everything's right on target as far as where you're at year to date, with really the primary concern still being the vacancies at Congregate. It's looking like you still have some room for the rest of the year now that we kind of redid the budget and found some other cost savings. But still the two units per month isn't really sustainable for, we figured hopefully, December looks like it'll probably be still, or we know November will be 2 months. Hopefully December is down to 1. And if you can stay 1 and under, you should come pretty close to budget and not too far off. And hopefully that's a kind of the goal to get kind of to sustainable for this year for Congregate there. Otherwise, costs are good. The money's in for DOH, so I've recommended you pay back what was loaned so far, and that's already been done and approved last check run. The next real decision is to be kind of discussed with the board and really ongoing as these months progress a little bit this year, is the new requirement on Village now that you cannot retain excess cash and excess surplus. You in essence have to spend it. This is a condition in the requirement of the grant that came into effect basically as of June 30th of last year. My hope was that the interpretation would be it wouldn't be coming into effect until you close out the project. It looks like CHFA's interpretation is different there. And based on the language in the agreement there, it looks like they're correct. But I think it's really just a management's and board's understanding that you just got to spend the money, which isn't a bad thing. But if you have proceeds, and we know we know you have some surpluses, and we've been saying year on year so far, you got some surpluses already this year. You just have to spend them by the end of the year. And I think Harriet and I have discussed basically trying to reinvest in your units, seeing how many more units you can turn over, how much that'll fund, whether that be 1 or 2 or 3 in the given year. And kind of, again, what you would hope or expect the project to be able to do is to start modernizing these units as you can. With the overall thought of, if you leave any money on the table, you're going to have to end up giving some of that money back, pay back that grant. And how much of that is acceptable to the board, so to speak.
Jason, can any of that money be used to make up for the lost rent for the vacant units?
We have there is a good chunk that's been put into the budget for the development. I think it's, Harriet, I don't know the exact amount. It's either $26,000 or $29,000. But again, yeah, but again, that money you get back is just surplus that you have to again spend.
Right.
So it's good to get the money back, but you can't hold on to it. You got to spend it.
Right. I'm just wondering if we could reallocate it because we obviously have to have the units vacant while they're being renovated. Can the money just, whatever lost rental income that we have, essentially do a funds transfer out of that money into our operating budget?
Operating a budget earmarked for
whatever expenses, we've obviously got lost revenue from rental income as the units have to be vacant.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I guess the point is, as long as it's used by year end. So I think the hope is that it doesn't close until next year, frankly.
Right.
And the way CHFA works here, it won't get closed this fiscal period. at all. And this is not you guys, this is just the way that these things operate. And you want to get it done correctly anyway. So there's really no rush per se. But yes, those funds, once they become available, will probably trigger in your next fiscal year. And then whatever funds are there, you're going to have to make sure next year that you're spending those.
Right.
It'll be part of the pot.
Okay. Any questions for Jason?
So I do want to can everybody hear me in my mask? I want to let you know that I am working on a very large Excel spreadsheet that pretty much has all the funding that we've gotten. It's also going to talk about the different subsidies. And I put in a lot of numbers. Jason has to put some numbers in. So hopefully they'll be ready maybe by our December meeting or so. It'll be a way to take a look and see where we are, what we've got, and a little bit of where we're going.
Providing tracking sources and uses, and really the purpose of the grants and the expenditure deadlines, basically. But as knowledge, basically general knowledge for everyone.
Right.
Okay. Any other questions for Jason?
But
Okay, thanks very much. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I wanted to ask, I know you just recently lost one of the congregate residents, unfortunately. How many empty units are in the congregate?
I think we have that coming up in the very shortly in the agenda.
Okay. I'll hold off then.
All right. Okay, thanks very much, Jason. Harriet, can you please do the executive director's report?
Well, I think, it's important to talk about the measures that we're taking to prevent COVID-19. So for the congregate, security guards, kitchen staff are tested regularly. Staff was recently tested, and luckily, they've all been in quarantine, and staff is tested negative, except for one of our staff members. The noon meal continues to be delivered to residents. The chef rings a little bell as he goes down the hall to announce the lunch is served. We're using EP maintenance to fog apartments and the building when necessary. They use a special spray to kill COVID-19. It's non-toxic and does not leave a residue. We tell the residents, if this happens, the residents, it's done pretty much in the evening, so no one has to go anywhere. And again, they can come out, 3 or 4 hours later if they need to. All residents, again, wearing masks, social distancing, being very conscious of these things. We are doing temperature checks for nurses and aides entering the building. And Heather purchased a hands-free temperature scanner today. On nice days, residents can sit outside and enjoy the outdoor patio heaters. I do want to thank Optimus Healthcare for having COVID test on site for all our residents. Last Monday, we had over 70 residents get tested, including staff and several residents for the congregate. We cannot make residents go. However, we do encourage them and speak with them about why it's so important and necessary. Optimists will be back November 30th, and our hope that they will continue to test throughout the new year. Jeff Holt and I have implemented strict procedures for our maintenance men to follow. We had a meeting today to talk about these things, and administrative staff will start alternating working from home and working from the office starting next week. I have requested additional COVID-19 funds for the Department of Housing, and they are working on getting some. The way the government is, it might take a little longer. In December, I will submit another application for FEMA for expenses we have incurred. The minimum threshold is about $3,300. So I'm just going to, every time we reach that mark, I'm going to just keep submitting to FEMA. For the community room, we did get the CO. Residents are using the community room. They wait inside for the buses, and they're frequenting our newly stocked food and necessity pantry. I want to thank all the Trumbull residents and organizations for donating to our food pantry, providing us with turkey and fixings for some of the residents. Heather has been doing an amazing job with turkey and bags of fixings today, distributing to residents on a first come, first served basis. You probably have about 20 or so, and she's gonna get more tomorrow. I'm also working on the strategic planning to include an updated capital needs assessment. I do want to wish everyone a very happy and safe Thanksgiving. And you know, it's hard. It's hard out there. We talk to our residents about making sure they do go to visit with family on Thanksgiving. It's the people that they normally see, and that they don't be with large groups. You know, we just want to do everything we can to keep everyone safe.
Okay. Any questions for Harriet about the executive director's report? All right, Harriet, then we're going to move on to the congregate updates, please.
Okay, so Daisy is working very, very hard to get units filled. And between now and I'd say around the December 15th, she should have several filled. There might be one. Unfortunately, that person that did pass away, we are getting in contact with his people to see if they, when they'll be able to remove the contents. Right now, we've had some people going to nursing homes. So I'd say that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 apartments that are vacant. I got this from Daisy today, and out of that, by the end of the year, we hope to have maybe 1 that might be left. That won't be, they'll be able to be filled at the beginning of next year. With maintenance and with vacation scheduling and all for the end of the year, we are working really hard to get as much done as possible. So, but the good things are her wait list is good. We have a lot of people that are still applying that want to come in. A few, might want to push off because of COVID. We certainly understand that. But as I said, it looks like that she does have this under control, and it will be filled. Also, in terms of the congregate, as you know, we are making significant upgrades to the congregate using the 2019 Small Cities funding. The upgrades include a newly renovated bathroom for each congregate, a new heating system, and new boilers. We have bi-monthly virtual meetings now to discuss. Laurel, I appreciate you being part of this. We will not start the bathroom renovations until next year. We're still waiting for plumbing fixtures, and we will need to isolate a unit for the work to be accomplished. But again, no one's doing anything until COVID settles down. Because of the way the hot water heater and the boiler is, we also decided to wait till spring. So when it gets warmer, to replace the hot water heater and the boiler, because there will be some time when they'll be without heat. So we want to make sure that it's warm so that they don't need it. And in terms of hot water, we're trying to figure out the best way to do that. There might be some downtown having hot water, but we're going to schedule it so that, let's say they don't have hot water until maybe 5 o'clock at night, and then knowing that, from 5 on, they'll be able to take hot showers and make meals. But again, we're doing an awful lot of planning right now, and as we're delving into the project.
Okay. Any questions for Harriet regarding the congregate updates? All right, it looks like we have no unfinished business. We have a bit of new business. First new business item is to ratify the tentative union agreement for 2020-2022 Local 1303 and 404, Connecticut Council 4. I would like to entertain a motion to ratify the union agreement for 2020 to 2022 Local 1303-404, Connecticut Council 4. So I will read the motion. The Trumbull Housing Authority Board of Commissioners ratifies the union agreement for the 2020 to 2022 Local 1303-404 Connecticut Council 4. Who would like to make the motion?
So moved. Kathy.
Who will second?
I'll second. Maureen.
Thank you. The motion is now on the table. Harriet, Jason, and Attorney Hodgson, can you please discuss?
So I'll start, if you will. So over the past several months, Jason, Paul, you've been part of this, Attorney Hodgson and I have been negotiating with the union. I'd say the biggest issue we had were wage increases and contributions for medical premium cost share. Since we could not come to an agreement, a mediator was used to help reach a tentative agreement, which is what we're looking at tonight. I think Jason and Chris might concur in my professional opinion, the wage increases are fair and they certainly work within our budgets. The current premium cost share is 15%, which was kept for this year and next year. We've all worked together on this. There have been pushback, we've negotiated, and I know Jason, you might want to say a few things, Chris.
Well, I would just say it's a fair agreement that the average of a 2.25% general wage increases is the state average, what we're seeing now. And this group had enjoyed 3% wage increases for many years. So I would say that the union was very cooperative in reaching this agreement. And I think it works out well for both sides. And we were able to confirm that Medicare is the primary plan for employees at age 65. So that will be a savings as well. And we did add vacation in carryover that was already in the handbook, so that we were just confirming what's in the handbook. So on the whole, I think it was a very reasonable contract.
Yeah, I think in the end that they're within the parameters that we discussed in the beginning at the initial, back in June or July when we had a meeting with the board, as far as, what the thought was and what the board's position was. So I think we kind of came right in the middle there of basically what we thought we were going to get, knowing we weren't going to get everything that the board had initially requested. I think this ends up being for the first year specifically under what we budgeted, because we were safe and went with 2.5 for the most part. So we're talking, I don't know, this ends up costing, $5,500 for the first year wages. So it's kind of, in essence, what can be expected. And fair to all, really.
Any discussion from the board?
Question about sick time, if I may. I noticed that upon retirement, they get paid for unused vacation time, but they're able to accrue up to 60 days of sick leave. Nothing's mentioned, at least here. I don't know if it's in another document somewhere, but is unused sick time also payable upon retirement or no?
No,
yes?
not.
No.
Okay.
No.
In fact, the handbook didn't have a cap on the payout of vacation time. And we were, in proposing to put it in the union contract, we proposed a cap of 20 days.
Great. Okay. Okay. And I'm assuming with the chargeback on the health insurance, we couldn't get them up any higher?
No, it's tied in with the wages. They wanted to get 2.5% a year. And we were looking for that's like lower, like 2.25 with 1% premium increases every year. And the mediator put this together from the state. So we gave up a little on the premium share. Like we figured 1% of premium share was worth $1,000. So we were better off, trying to lower the wages. There's more savings there.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
We ended up being very firm on that last year. And I think it's more perception than anything, that the employees can continue to understand that, there is cost increase that's being shared to them, and that the housing authority is taking on every year. And that's obviously going to go up every year. So I really wanted them to see that, because there's been some pushback as far as what they think they're getting even now. So I think hopefully this ends up being more of a, I don't know if education is the right word, but you know, just kind of a shared sense that, hey, you know, both the housing authority and the employees have to kind of work together and see that, you know, there's a significant cost here and it continues to go up as it, you know, has in the past. So, and that was a fighting. I mean, that was one of the last things we kind of going back and forth on. We really didn't want to fight.
Okay, thank you. Any other question or discussion? All right, that being the case, I'd like to bring it to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? All right, motion's approved unanimously. Thank you.
Thanks all and happy Thanksgiving.
Thanks.
Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving. The second new business item is to continue using Millennium Real Estate Services as construction manager for the continued rehab of units 1 through 50 in Stern Village. I will read the motion. The Trumbull Housing Authority Board of Commissioners approves hiring Millennium Real Estate Services, LLC, to continue the rehab of units 1 through 50 in Stern Village. Who will make the motion?
Marie.
I'll make a motion. Thank you.
Second? Can someone second?
I'll second.
All right, thank you. So the motion is on the table. Harriet, can you please start the discussion?
So as you know, next month, the THA will receive our third and it's our final round of HTCC funding to be used to rehab units in the village. We've also used Millennium, and Bruce is here with us tonight, for the rehab of units for the past 2 HTC funding rounds, also including the major revitalization of Stern Village with the SSHP round. In my professional opinion, I would like to continue to use Millennium to rehab additional units in the village and to start planning for the additional rehab now. Millennium was hired as a construction manager for the 2018 and 2019 HTCC funding awards. The THA receives all the invoices and pays all the invoices, and we have control over payment. The invoices are discussed with Bruce or the project manager, Steve Jane, before anything is approved. Jeff Holt, Heather Lamotte, and I work very closely with our on-site project manager, Steve Jane, as well as with Bruce. They certainly understand an elderly project. They've been doing this for many, many years. They've devoted, I'd say, most of their business to working with public housing authorities and dealing situations and people like us. And they really know how to treat the elderly with more caution, especially during the pandemic. So Millennium does everything possible to maximize the use of funds in order to get many units as rehabbed as possible. So there's 2 aspects. The consulting aspect is the preparation and submission of the HTCC application. I work with Frank Stiletto, who is Bruce's partner. And by doing that, we were able to obtain commitment by Eversource. And he does a preparation, the monthly progress reports through the project closeout. This is 1% of the total funding, or $5,000. So we literally pay Millennium $5,000 for all of that, upfront, middle, and work. As a construction manager, Millennium has agreed to invoice for construction management fees at a fixed $30,000. That's invoiced in equal monthly payments. All trades were competitively billed. They are waiving a general requirement fee, which was previously 5.7% for the SSHP. And this requirement fee is usually required by CHAFA, but we don't need to have it done, and Bruce can talk about that. So that's my take on it. In terms of rehab, in 2000 now, by the end of December, we will have 18 units rehabbed using the funding from 2019. If you remember, units 1 through 50 had to have asbestos abatement. So there was an additional charge for that. In 2018, we were able to do 24 units. So if we look at the units from 1 to 50, of how many of those have rehabbed and had the mitigation of asbestos, we've done 14. This means that we have another 36 left through 1 through 50. And I would entertain, or I'd ask the board to consider, let's use at least 1 or 2 units that we can hold, and let's call them, if you will, hotel units. For those that were on the board, last year, the year before, we had hotel units for the SSHP project when we were converting the 1-bedroom apartments in the middle to ADA units. So we would rehab 1 unit and we'd move people in and out. We'd be completely sanitized. They'd have, whatever they need for, let's say, a month. They'd have cable, they'd have electricity. That would all be, paid based on the grant. And then when their unit was ready, they could either go back to their unit or they can stay in a hotel unit. So if we did that and kept going around the village, we can probably do about 18 more or so. And then as Jason suggested, and this is something we can talk about at a later time, that any additional surplus monies that we have left over, we should really use to keep rehabbing apartments in the village. Those are my thoughts. Anybody?
Okay. Any discussion from the board?
Yep. So I have one housekeeping point on the agreement. Article 5.1.1 talks about the city of Bridgeport.
Oh, geez.
I think you may just be reusing agreements or something, but I think we do not want to sign a contract that mentions some kind of obligations from the city of Bridgeport.
Oh, geez, sorry, because our attorney also reviewed this, so sorry that wasn't caught. Thank you, Laurel.
Sure. One other question I have is on Article 2.1. Doesn't actually mention an exact date. It's the date of a reservation letter. Do we not know the date of that letter yet, that we couldn't put an actual start date to the agreement?
Laurel, I can answer that question. We do have a reservation, but that reservation letter is usually issued in April or May of the year. So you would have gotten it already a long time ago. You actually don't get the funds until December typically, and sometimes January of the following year. So usually you don't start the work until you actually you're in receipt of the funds from the utility company. Notwithstanding, the reservation letter comes from CHFA after you've actually competed for the money.
Okay, it's just a little strange to me that a contract would not, if such a letter exists and it has a date on it, that the contract would say the date of some letter, as
right,
opposed to, April 2nd of 2020.
All right, but I guess the point is we have the letter and we can fill in the date.
Yep. Right, that's my thought. That might be.
That's not a problem.
Okay.
The next one is on 2.15. When you are certifying payments, it says a whole lot of things that you don't have to do, but then it kind of made me wonder, what has to be done for you to certify payments? I mean, you don't have to make an inspection. You don't have to review means and methods. You don't have to make sure the work is actually done. So, you know, it just kind of occurred to me, if those don't have to be done, where in here does it say what you're supposed to be looking for when you're signing off on the payments?
Good question. I'd have to look at the actual document. I mean, we, in practical application, I mean, we're on the site, we're actually administering the work. So we're signing off on the work as it's complete, as is the building department. So we don't, we're not necessarily certifying payments. We're approving invoices for payment, but the payment's happening on, or at the housing authority level.
But from the way I'm reading this is you're looking at the bills on our behalf because you understand,
yes,
as our project manager, what, you know, is what work is being done. So somebody presents you with a bill, but that paragraph basically says you don't really need to even have looked at much to kind of review the bill, approve it, send it to Harriet for payment. So I'm just kind of questioning, on what basis then do you have to use? Do you get what I'm talking about?
So what, yeah, can you just give me that paragraph number again?
Sure, 2.15.
2.15, thank you.
This is Maureen. While Bruce is looking for the paragraph. We had construction meetings once a week right up until COVID with all this construction going on. And before bills were presented, we went over the scope of work and actually looked at what was being done, what was being delivered, how much longer it was going to take. And between the project manager and Bruce and Harriet, Jeff and myself, pretty much we don't sign the checks until the work that is on there is approved and done. The only thing we will do is when they order materials. Cabinets came in for so many apartments. We paid that bill to know that each and every, no matter what was on the invoice, was what was delivered. I don't know whether that helps or not, but that's what we did.
Thanks, Maureen. Laurel, let me draw a distinction for a second. I don't want to get in the weeds of the process, but normally what would happen is a construction budget is established based on a division. There's 16 divisions in a construction contract. And payments are typically requested on a percentage complete basis. So what that paragraph is speaking to is, if a prime contractor came in and said, I'm 25% done, certify this payment, the architect would have already signed off on it. We would then sign the certificate for payment, right? Which is a blanket request. It doesn't have any individual bills in it. And what we're saying is, we're not certifying that we reviewed the work or the means and methods of the work. That's a different scenario than having actual bills from subcontractors, which is what you're getting, and us signing off on those. So, and I'm not sure that this contract makes the distinction between the two, but we're delivering this project and doing the work differently than what a typical construction manager would do. And I know that's going to be confusing because
I'm just FYI, I am super uncomfortable about that paragraph.
Yeah.
So then on 2.21, it says the owner's maintenance personnel and you are the ones overseeing the work, right? Yeah. So at the end, when the work is finished, say apartment by apartment, who's going in there and sort of being the commissioning agent for us, the owner?
Jeff Holt.
Well, and
Steve, right?
And ultimately, your building department will sign.
Yes.
Okay, so you are not then working. You are not acting as commissioning agent for us per se as part of this contract, and verifying that things are done.
No, we are.
You are.
Yeah.
Yes.
But yes, but it's done with a team. So it's Jeff, it's Bruce or Steve, And then it's Bob Dunn from the building department.
From which building department?
Trumbull.
Okay, Trumbull's own.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think I have just two more questions. At the very end, under reimbursements, there's a line here, expense of overtime work requiring higher than regular rates. That's your consultant's overtime work? That's unclear to me whose overtime that is.
I don't know. We've never had to bill it, so I couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
Okay, but it's in the contract. I'm just wondering who.
Right. This is an AIA, so this is an AIA template form. I don't know that all of the sections actually are applicable. It's just one of those standard things. I mean, we can pull it out. I've never billed anything like that before. And
okay, and then last but not least, the very last one under 8.3.4.
Yeah.
Records of reimbursable expenses are available to us upon our request. Does that mean backup is, again, a little confusing. Does that mean that you do not give us backup when you're billing us for reimbursable expenses?
No, that only relates to additional services.
Right, but that's what this paragraph is about, that you're going to be billing us for additional services. But it sort of implies that, you know, we can get them if we want them, but that you're not necessarily providing it with a bill.
No, I don't know what the implication is, but we don't get paid unless we provide a bill for anything, ever. And
Okay.
Jason, you can confirm that. I mean, you're the one processing it.
Yeah. There have been a couple of things that you've sent through to reimburse with reimbursement support for some minor,
right.
you know, things. But just so I'm not, my version doesn't say what you just said. My version also doesn't have Bridgeport in it. But it did have the same 2.15 you were talking about. So just
the one I'm looking at is the last one that Harriet sent out to us.
Okay. Mine's dated the 19th, but maybe I didn't.
I have one dated the 20th.
Okay. It's bizarre because I didn't see any Bridgeport, and I'm like searching through the document.
What section was Bridgeport noted? Did
5.1.1.
Page is Bridgeport on?
Okay.
I see. Yeah, yours is dated later than mine.
You should have it. I sent it to Bruce too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm looking for that version.
But the older version doesn't have it.
That version is on the website. The one
new
I
one.
Yeah, well.
Okay.
All right, so we'll make sure that's taken care of.
Yep.
I actually have one last question. We didn't get a vacancy report this month. So how many of the units that were on the report last month are completed?
I'm sorry, I did give you a vacancy report in the on Friday.
It came in Friday?
Yeah.
So,
but let me go.
Okay, but it wasn't part of what was on the website. It was just something you sent out to us?
Correct.
Okay.
But we can certainly talk about that. So December 1st, we will have 1, 2, looks like we're going to have the rest of them are going to be completed between December 1st and December 7th.
Yeah, right. The last.
That's the last 3 will be completed.
So all of those that were outstanding on the last report you gave us last month will all be rented and occupied?
So we do have 2 of them, unfortunately, as of the beginning of this week. One person decided to back out because she didn't want to move during COVID, and another decided to do the same thing. So we're thinking of maybe using one of those units, number 9, as maybe a hotel unit. and the other two, and there's only one that we're waiting, which will be occupied. We have people that are coming in for that one.
So the total of nothing is occupied.
So we're really going to be one.
Okay, so
Two, but we'd like to use one for a vacant as a hotel unit if we can.
but all the units that were still under construction as of our last meeting are finished?
They'll be finished between December 1st and December 7th.
Okay, thank you.
All right, it seems like, is this agreement, I don't have all the notes for all the changes. So I don't know if do we need to vote on this agreement today? I mean, if so, I can try and put together a modified motion with the identifying each of the changes. But I don't know if there's too much that, well, first let me ask, does this need to get approved by the board tonight?
Not for me.
I think it's fine. We've used Bruce before. I mean, he changes everything. He does many. What do we have to change?
Say that again, please. They didn't hear you.
This is Maureen about this agreement with Millennium. Bruce has been on site here for how many years since we got the sense it was given to him. He knows the project. He knows what has to be done. Other than whatever you're saying has to be changed in there, taking out Bridgeport and all that, I don't see any reason to put it off.
Well, the only thing is I need to create a motion that identifies the changes, and the board can then approve the contract contingent on the changes being made, and then the changes can just be made and the contract can be signed.
I would think if it doesn't have to be done tonight, I'd rather see the changes made and brought back at the next meeting.
That's fine.
Okay.
So we'll put it as old business.
On the agenda for next month, old business.
Okay, so.
Oh, I think there's a motion on the floor, so you're gonna need to do something about that.
Right. So.
Withdraw the motion or something. Who made it?
So I'm gonna, all right, so I think what we need to do is just, I don't want to close out this motion.
You can withdraw the motion.
I think I'd like to try to modify it and not have to make a new motion, because then that might essentially be a new business item that was not on the agenda. So unless someone thinks that we can, I'd like to modify the motion to have the changes made to the agreement and have this put onto the agenda of the next meeting for approval.
Paul, I think I made the motion. I can withdraw my motion and then we can just move it, work on it before the next meeting and put it back on. So if you want me to do that, I will withdraw my motion.
That sounds like it'll be easier, and then Harriet can just add it to the next board meeting.
So I'll withdraw my motion to approve the contract.
All right. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
In that case, I think we are to resident comments.
No, one more motion.
What's that?
One more new business item.
Okay, you're right. I'm sorry. We need to approve change orders for the work being done in the congregate. So I'd like to entertain the motion to approve change order number 1 for an air and dirt separator, and to approve change order number 3 for the replacement of hot and cold water valves. So I will read the motion. The Trumbull Housing Authority Board of Commissioners approves change order number 1 for an air and dirt separator, and approves change order number 3 for the replacement of hot and cold water valves. Who would like to make the motion?
This is Laurel, I'll make the motion.
Second?
Kathy will second.
Okay, the motion is now on the table. Harriet, can you please explain?
Sure. So as we delve into this project that we're doing in the congregate and discuss with the teams, we need to have a dirt separator and replace both hot and cold water valves. This is not part of the scope, but it is some additional change orders. I mean, we have a very nice contingency, so we don't have a problem with paying for these. So the dirt separator be number one. It is for the heating system, prevents any particles to go into the boilers. It keeps the boilers running efficiently and effectively. The next one is number three, because it's replacement of both hot and cold water valves. Since we're going to place one of the hot water valves anyway, we decided, well, we might as well place the cold water valves because we found that there is some corrosion due to the age, and that has occurred on the valves within the building. So it seemed kind of, foolish on our part not to replace both of them, because we want to make sure that, the project is done, we don't have any difficulties, and that to do the work efficiently, we want to do as many valve changes at one time to limit any type of, it can be a very time-consuming project draining the building. So the change order would change all domestic hot and cold water valves into the units, as well as installing several isolation valves so the building can be maintained easier in the future. The valves could be changed individually when issues come up. However, if they are changed on an as-needed basis, the cost per unit will be significantly higher due to the time frame to drain the building each time. So again, it's far better to get them all changed at once so you not have to deal with this in the future. So that's really the rationale for the valves.
I was,
Okay, thank you.
This is Laurel. I was able to sit in on this project meeting, and I have to agree that based on the discussion, it would be prudent to replace these valves before the rest of the work got done. And that's certainly by far the larger, it's $19,000, but it's, I think, a totally reasonable place to start doing this, as opposed to once the project is complete and then to have to go back and redo them.
Okay, yeah, thanks for being involved with that, Laurel. Are there any other questions or discussion from the board? All right, in that case, I'd like to bring it to a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, the motion is approved unanimously. Now, unless I've missed something else, we're ready for resident comments. And it looks like we have somebody dialed in.
There's a member of the public who would like to speak. You can press the raise your hand button at the bottom of your screen. If you're on a phone, press *9.
Okay, guess just listening in. All right.
A side note, Paul, I just wanted to say, nothing was done to those valves in the boiler in the sense of time it was put in.
Correct. We've had to replace some of them.
Yeah.
Because of,
You've been lucky so far.
We've had to replace them, but it's a big deal to do that.
That was a good thing.
Okay, thank you. Before I make a motion to adjourn, I'm not sure if everyone knows, but my term is up. This is my last board meeting. And I just want to say thank you. It's been a real pleasure. It's been a real pleasure working with you all and being involved with Stern Village. And I appreciate the opportunity.
Well, it was a pleasure working with you and meeting with you and knowing you for the past 3 years.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Paul, for all your help and support along the way. It's been wonderful to work with you.
Has been my pleasure.
Hey, Paul.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Oh, thank you. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. All right.
Feel free to call in anytime.
I'll be a member of the public now.
You could be.
Yeah, very calm, very methodical. It's been a pleasure working with you.
Thanks very much. So with that, I will I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Laurel, so moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Bill, and thank you, Trumbull Community Television. And I hope to see you all COVID-free very soon.
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Yeah, be
Bye.
safe, everybody. Thank you.